You're welcome.
She needs to catch her breath.
Okay.
I do.
Me too.
So Dan Sedley.
All right, we're live.
He was supposed to be here, and he's gone to the hospital.
Oh, no. Good evening, and welcome to the City of Morro Bay Recreation and Parks Commission meeting. Today is July 18th, 2024, 6 p.m., and we're at the Veterans Memorial Building. We have a quorum, so I'm calling the meeting to order, and we'd like to observe a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. And now I should lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. All right, I guess we'll start off with announcements and presentations. It looks like somewhere to go.
Mr. Chairman, if the commission has any announcements they'd like to make, go ahead first, and then we'll jump on in and do our staff announcements.
Okay.
Please.
Cindy, my fellow. You good? I think we're okay at this point.
That was easy, thank you.
I would like to say I really enjoyed the 4th of July at Tidelands. That was a
Thank
great event, and it was well attended, and it's great to see the community out together having a good time.
Thank you. With that, we've got a quick slideshow, and then I've got a couple of things to say, and off we go. Just a quick shot of our summer 2024 community classes. I won't have to read through them, but there they are. We try to keep a breadth of activities going for the community. Always interested in suggestions from the public or from instructors who have a following who would like to join us. We're happy to entertain that. Thank you. Kids Camp, that's taking place right now. It's our summer camp, runs June 17th through August 9th. You still have time to register your child and enjoy some of the fun activities that take place at Kids Camp. And Kids Club. Kids Club is the school time child care before and after school. Registration is now open for the 24-25 school year. Aquatics programs. The difference in summertime is full-blown swim lessons. Otherwise, the standard programs of lap swim, masters swim, aqua aerobics, and some private lessons are available. And our Rock to Pier Run 2024, this is, I think, the 54th annual. And I think we're going to top our numbers this year. We've got 1,080, let's see, a little over 1,000 registered at this time. I had those notes somewhere here. Where'd they go? 1,023 registered. We do see typically over 100 registered day of, so we're looking to break our record. The highest we've ever had in 2019 was 1,084. So it'll be a busy Saturday morning out at the Rock. Come on out and join us for a beautiful run. It's a lot of fun. We've got a rock and roll band plays after the run, and breakfast provided by the Beosos Kiwanis. Co-ed adult social kickball. This was a new program that we launched based on the results of a survey that we had that took place earlier this year, looking to get more activities for the grown-up kids. We just played, let's see, last Wednesday, and so Recreation put a team together. It's actually pretty fun. I haven't played kickball since elementary school. I don't think I've ran from home plate to first base in 10 years, so needless to say, most of us were pretty sore after playing for an hour, but it's fun. And Estero Bay Youth Soccer Fall, coming up fall 2024, we are open for registration right now. So come on over and either online or into the recreation office for registration. And that is it with regard to our slideshow. A couple quick announcements. I typically will let the commission know and the public know these items verbally. The Community Foundation of Estero Bay for the fiscal year 23-24 has awarded the Recreation Department in the City of Morro Bay $30,347 this last fiscal year. So very fortunate to partner with these folks. The foundation, they do a fantastic job. They throw a great fundraiser party once a year. I recommend come on out and giving that a try if you never have. A lot of great silent auction items. They usually get me on the hook for a few $100 at least. So, and let's see, talked about Rock to Pier, and thanks Commissioner Sedaris for attending the 4th of July and your comments about that. We had a fantastic day. We ordered up some good weather. It cooled down right about when the middle of the set of the band, the marine layer kind of eased in and it cooled off the day. So it was really very fun. It was a beautiful day again. And I estimated a little over 1,200 attendees for that event. So thanks to the city staff who helped to coordinate and help out that event and attend. So, and that's all I had for announcements. Thank you.
Thank you and your staff for that report. The next is Morro Bay Seniors Liaison Report. That's me. And I have nothing new to report other than they still want more pickleball, which I can't blame them. At this point, I think I'd like to move item C2 up, if that's possible. Do I need to, we need to vote on that, or?
Is that for others?
Yes. I believe that's for the absence.
Yes, I don't think we need to do a vote to move that. If my Robert's Rules of Order are incorrect, someone will have to let me know.
Okay.
But we will go ahead and recommend the approval to excuse an excused absence for Commissioner Fazio. She has a work conflict and was unable to attend tonight.
I would so move, and she did let us know at the last meeting that this was coming up, so I appreciate that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, it's passed. Thank you. Okay. So, moving up to the public comments now, I believe. Do we have some public that would like to comment? Please come up and state your name and give us your comments, please.
Good evening. My name is Judy, and I just want to share a couple fun facts. I love the Recreation and Parks Department. It's my favorite part of the whole city. And in 1970, other than babysitting, I had my first job at City Hall in the rec department under the tutelage of Barbara George. And I rode my bike there, and she taught me how to use the mimeograph machine, and I was in heaven. It was the best. At that time, we had, during the summer, we had open gym at the high school. So the gym, the old gym, was the only gym then, but it was open, and they had different theme nights. And the pool was also open. So you had free swim, free open gym, and my absolute favorite was when they brought out all of the gymnastics equipment, the trampoline, everything. It was amazing, and it was free, and I think my parents really loved it. There were 6 of us. So I just want to commend the rec department and all that you do and how worthwhile it is. And I hope you extend that to your staff, that the lives they touch, especially the children, is just beyond measure. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Have you ever thought of volunteering to be a Parks Commissioner? As you can see, we could use a couple.
I did.
Come see Kirk at the
Thank you.
Parks Department. Okay, moving on. I guess we have the consent calendar. May I get a motion to approve and file A1?
Would you put your button?
It's okay.
I make a motion to approve and file consent calendar A1.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Seeing none? Passes. Recreation Service Division status report. Receive and file A2. Need a motion for that?
I would make, yes, I'll make that motion after I make a comment. There are some great graphs in this document, as always. I would just like, I know that one graph is for the previous month, since we meet every other month, and then the next graph is identical, except extends it into the next month. I would not have a problem with one instead of two, like both months could be covered in one table, just a consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I would approve item A2.
And I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Seeing none, it's approved. Thank you. Recreation Service Division participation reports. I'd like to get a motion to receive and file A3, please.
I make a motion to receive and file A3.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Thank you. Open and release. So, public hearings again? No.
I guess we
We
have.
have none? Okay.
Correct.
All right. I guess we'll move on to business item C1, staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to invite Greg Kwolek, our Public Works Director, up along with Carlos Mendoza, our Maintenance Division Manager, and they're going to lead the discussion on the Cloisters lawn area reduction and tree planting considerations. Gentlemen?
Okay, welcome, gentlemen.
I don't care. Clicker.
If you have a clicker, we can make this clicker, but then we can.
Nikki's a clicker, but I can be a clicker, but if you'd rather sit here. Why don't you sit here?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair of the Rec and Parks Commission, Commissioners and members of the public. My name is Greg Kwolek. I am the Public Works Director for the City of Morro Bay. And sitting next to me is Carlos Mendoza. He is the Maintenance Division Manager. Just as a reminder, while Parks and Rec used to be a department, that department was split, and the Parks Maintenance function did come to Public Works. I would say that was about 10 years ago, but I could be wrong by a year or two. And so Parks Maintenance does occur under the Maintenance Division in Public Works, and that's what Mr. Mendoza, sitting next to me, oversees. And so recently, myself and Mr. Mendoza and City Engineer Cindy Cecil came to a Rec and Parks Commission meeting and outlined, our vision for regular policy considerations that we would bring to this body. And so this is the first of those. And this really came to fruition because, and by this I mean the item before you, because we did get some comments from one of the residents of the Cloisters asking city staff to reduce the lawn size at the Cloisters Park and also to plant some trees. Normally, we wouldn't do this. We get requests all of the time from different people, not just about parks, but hey, why don't you reorganize the parking on this street, or why don't you do this? And Typically, staff does not make these sorts of changes unless they're obviously needed. Because of one member of the public, we like to bring these considerations to a public body such as the Public Works Advisory Board or now the Rec and Parks Commission. What we might do in one park might affect how we do things in another park. And so again, if we always listen to one person requesting something, we'd probably be chasing our tail, constantly making changes to everything. And so we think that this is a great way to present an issue, have it considered by an appointed body of the City Council, and then also have the public here available to make their comments. So a quick outline for the presentation. We'll go over a background about the cloisters, because it is sort of a unique park that was built under unique circumstances. We have two policy considerations for the Rec and Parks Commission, and that should say conclusions, not recommendations, but we have staff conclusions about those considerations, but we are going to be requesting input from this body. And so again, as everyone knows, the Rec and Parks Commission is an advisory board to the City Council. They don't necessarily direct staff, but we are interested in your input, and that's why we brought this here today. So for the background, the Cloisters development, I looked at the Coastal Commission permit, the Coastal Development Permit. It actually goes back to 1992 when it was approved. That's 32 years ago. And in 1996, the City Council found the development, the Cloisters development, would create significant environmental impacts, and the City Council stated that those environmental impacts would need to be mitigated. There's probably people in the room who know better than me that prior to the Cloisters development being where it is, there was just sort of dunes and coastal scrub. Whether or not it was accessible to the public, I'm not sure. I believe it was privately owned. It may have been accessible nevertheless, but still, the City Council saw that putting in 120 or so homes would very clearly have impacts to what everybody knows is that area of the community. And for mitigation, one of the mitigation measures was to establish a landscape and lighting maintenance assessment district, which would fund Cloisters Park and also do some other maintenance activities. And so therefore that assessment district was established in 1996. And the maintenance scope that was given to the city for that district was park maintenance, play equipment maintenance, maintenance of the medians, drainage, irrigation work, maintenance of vegetation, wetlands maintenance, facilities maintenance, such as the restroom and other facilities, the fences, pathways, parking lots, and really the list goes on and on. There's a lot of work being done in the Cloisters. Not all of it is always seen. One example is it is the only neighborhood in the city that city staff regularly maintain the parkways in front of folks' homes between the sidewalk and the street. So that green area between, or if it doesn't have grass, it may have some plants, is irrigated on the city's dime, and city maintenance workers maintain those medians because that was part of the deal made back in 1996. So the annual assessment per homeowner in the Cloisters development is $1,241.20. That was a figure that was developed in 1996. And across 120 homes, the total revenue that the city receives to do the maintenance work is $148,944. So just about $150,000 for the work mentioned. I looked back into some old budgets with Mr. Mendoza, and we saw that for many years, up until fiscal year 2006, that level of assessment paid for two full-time, or the equivalent of two full-time maintenance workers. Starting in 2006, it went to 1.5. And I did not analyze every single year, but interestingly, the fiscal year 2006 budget book shows all the prior fiscal years going back like 6 or 7 years, and it was always 2 maintenance workers, and that year it went to 1.5. The reason I mention that is because, and you'll see later, there are no CPI increases for this assessment. So as time goes on, labor gets more expensive, equipment gets more expensive, water gets more expensive, other utilities get more expensive, fuel gets more expensive, vehicles get more expensive, et cetera. But the revenue that was going to pay for this work is level. And at this point, the assessment of almost $150,000 only pays for 70% of one maintenance worker, so less than one maintenance worker equivalent. Now, that doesn't mean it's like one guy who's like, you're going to see him 0.7%. It's not that. That's an average across the division. We oftentimes have 2 or 3 maintenance workers working in the cloisters. For example, when we're painting the fence, which is sort of a regular ongoing thing, that divides the ESHA open space area with the cloisters development. I believe we paint it salty dog blue. That work is done sometimes by 2, 3, or even 4 maintenance workers. Other times there may be no one present at the cloisters district. But every day, I don't believe there's a day that goes by that no maintenance worker goes to the cloisters district to work. Another example is that 70% of a one-time full-time equivalent is based on a 40-hour work week, which is Monday through Friday. But we know that our maintenance workers are there on Saturdays and Sundays, emptying trash and maintaining the restroom, and potentially responding to other issues. So again, there are not any annual increases. There's a process that the city has to go through every year to renew the assessment and legally levy the assessment on the cloisters homeowners. The city, it's not under the city's purview to increase the assessment. That would have to be voted on by the cloisters residents, which is, unlikely. I don't know of anyone who would vote to increase their own tax. But suffice it to say that the cloisters district assessment is insufficient to fund the scope of work of all the district activities that I mentioned earlier. And because of that, I believe it was back in 2006, I'd have to check my notes, but the city general fund started subsidizing maintenance costs above the $944 because the city council gave staff direction to do that. I am aware of some cities, I won't name them, that have maintenance districts across their city, and those maintenance districts have refused to pay what their assessment is, and the city simply doesn't maintain those districts. They do not send maintenance workers there. That is not the case here for a variety of reasons, but just as a kind of show of good faith of the city council for 18 years or so has been subsidizing the maintenance costs for this district. Just a couple of things. The Cloisters Park is a public park. It is true that a lot of the funding for the maintenance activities comes from the Cloisters homeowners, but again, the city's general fund does subsidize those activities as well. When I talked about that timeline going back to 1992 and 1996, I want to be clear, just for the public's general knowledge, excuse me, the way these coastal development permits work is when there's environmental impacts that are identified for a large development like this on the coast, those developments are only allowed to be built because of the mitigations. In other words, the formation of the Cloisters Assessment District itself, and therefore the annual payments from the homeowners in that district, are required through the CDP, through the Coastal Development Permit. If that wasn't established, the development may never have even been built. And so that was a condition of it. not specifically the formation of this district, but the mitigation work, and the way that was implemented was the district. So that said, again, it is a public park. There's often a perception that the Cloisters homeowners are the ones directing what the maintenance activities are in Cloisters Park. That's not true. We certainly take input from the Cloisters community. We meet with them. We used to meet with them more regularly, but they're quite an active group, and we enjoy working with them to make sure that their community is beautiful and that the park is great. But really, input on what happens in Cloisters Park is open to anyone in the city, including this body. So we do have two policy considerations for the board tonight, and Mr. Mendoza is going to go through those. And just broadly, one of them is to save money on funding by reducing the lawn size, and the staff has prepared an analysis of that, a short analysis of that. And then also another consideration is whether to add trees. You know, historically, there have been view shed restrictions on tree heights in that development. So we'll discuss that a little bit. I do also want to share that city staff on July 8th, which was 10 days ago, did send via United States Postal Service a postcard notification to everyone in the Cloisters. And so we did invite the whole neighborhood to come out tonight for this meeting, given that, again, it's their neighborhood and it was just the right thing to do. So unless there's any quick questions regarding what I've presented so far, Mr. Mendoza can take it in. I'm not sure, Chair, how you want to handle it, if you have questions now or you want to go through it.
I think we should wait till the end.
Okay. All right, very well. So policy consideration 1, and I'll take it away, Mr. Mendoza.
Yeah. Thank you, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. So bringing forward consideration number 1, as mentioned, one of the homeowners at Cloister suggested that one way to reduce cost is to reduce the watered area close to the park. And here is a map of that area that is up for discussion. It's about 1.3 acres. It sits around a trail system next to the playgrounds and next to the restroom. We wanted to provide the commission with some information about where the city waters, the cost for that, and what the practice is for irrigating that lawn. So currently the city waters the lawns, the mediums, the parkways, other landscaped areas, and also provides water to the public restroom. For the lawn that we're discussing, the current practice to water that is 4 days a week, with each session lasting about 30 minutes. I think it's an important thing for me to mention that staff has evaluated those times over the years. We've fine-tuned that, and we believe that that amount of days and times is the minimum required to keep that lawn alive. Anything less, it would start to brown out and die. The other practice that we have as far as maintenance goes for that lawn in order to save on cost is to turn off the sprinklers during the rainy season during winter time. And depending upon how long that period is, could be anywhere between 4 and 5 months out of the year. Also wanted to provide a cost analysis for what the city is spending for years 2018 through 2023. So the table that you see in front of you has on the right-hand side the total cost of the Cloister's water usage, and that includes the lawn, it includes the parkways, the restroom, and all the other things that I've mentioned before. The average cost per year is somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000. To the middle of the table, you see just the cost for the lawn for the past 5 years, and it averages out at about $15,000 a year for that. So we wanted to provide, as requested by the homeowner at Cloisters, kind of what an alternative would be for the reduced lawn. And so you see on this map on the left-hand side an option to not water 40% of the lawn and the right-hand side, kind of orangey color, would be watered at 60%. So there are some pros and cons to that, and we can see them on the next slide. So one of the pros, obviously, is that by reducing the lawn size, we reduce the amount of water needed, therefore saving money. And the amount of savings that we would have from that would be $6,000 a year. There are some cons, and one of the cons is that there would be some upfront cost to that. And in order to maintain the aesthetic appeal that is there would be a need for delineating the watered area from the non-watered area. And currently, the practice there at Cloisters is to do that with a paved trail. And so the estimated amount to create that delineation is about $25,000. There's also another con, which is just the benefits that lawns have. And there are benefits such as improving the air quality, managing stormwater, reducing heat, promoting wellness, reducing stress, and enhancing community appeal. And obviously, all those things would be impacted by reducing the size of the lawn, as well as the public's use of that area for passive and active recreation, which is what they use it for at this point. So staff conclusion is that we should continue with the current watering practice. And the reasons for that is we believe there are minor financial benefits offered by reducing the size of the lawn. Also, there would be loss of lawn for park space, and there would also be upfront cost, which I've mentioned, and there are no funding sources for those available at this time. Policy consideration number 2 is the planting of additional trees at the Cloisters open space area. And there are recommended trees that the Cloisters design guidelines suggest for planting at the Cloisters, and those include strawberry madrones and weeping bottlebrush and others. We've estimated that the cost of tree that is about 4 to 5 feet high, 3 to 5 inch diameter, is about $400 a tree. But obviously, there would be additional cost, not just the purchase of the tree, there'd be cost in watering the tree and ongoing pruning of the tree. And an important note is also that historically, staff has not planted trees at the Cloisters view shed, and that is to protect the view of the rock, the ocean, the dunes, and the open space for the public to enjoy. So this is a map that shows some options of where trees might be planted at the Cloisters. These are just suggestions, and obviously they're open for consideration. The conclusion from staff is that we should not plant any additional trees at the Cloisters, and the following reasons are that there's limited capacity for the Cloisters Fund operating budget, the limited staff capacity that we have, and also the historical practice to not impact the Cloisters view shed with trees. So those are the options, and I'll pass it over to Director Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. And that concludes the presentation. We're happy to take input or questions.
Okay, so what's the purpose of planting trees? That saves us money, or?
I believe the purpose of the request, as stated in the email that we received, was to offer shade to folks who are at the park.
Okay. Yet we've been running at a deficit for 20 years. Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that. I knew that they got money from the Cloisters, but I didn't realize we're running at a deficit for 20 years. Never brought to my attention.
Well, if I may, I'm not sure, is that a question or?
Well, yeah, it's a question. The maintenance costs are outstripping the budget.
Yes and no. The city's general fund is subsidizing what the Cloisters Maintenance District doesn't cover. So from the city standpoint, we're not running a deficit because of that subsidy. But
okay.
We're running a deficit from the standpoint of, when the fund was established, it was paying for everything. Now it doesn't.
Is that park cost more than other comparably sized parks to operate?
We haven't done that level of analysis to compare it to other parks, but it is, you know, yeah, I've been to all the parks. I think it's very well maintained compared to the other parks.
Wow, I feel all the parks are very well maintained. You have a great staff. Can we take, is there any public comment on this subject? Would you come up, please, and state your name? I think you get 3 minutes to talk, sir.
I actually got a couple, first of all, I'm Corey Paul. I'm a resident of the Cloisters. I'm also a horticulturalist. I own a local landscape gardening contracting company, licensed to spray. I want to say, first of all, if the head ever wants to walk that property, I'll give free consultation to the head. I don't want to walk and step on toes of workers, but there's a lot of problems with the Cloisters. I do not agree that we should go with cutting lawn, for one, until a lot of other things are managed. I do believe you'd be spending more time taking care of weeds than running a fast lawnmower over lawn. It's also one of the biggest lawns in our city that's flat. I drive in and out of that place 2 to 3 times a day. Kids running, bicycles going. I just don't see it being wise. Where else do we have a place in our city that's that open for families to run and play? Birthday parties, yes, you have Del Mar, but it's hilly. I'm gonna hand you all these and let you read through them. Please email me. I have about 9 questions and a lot of pictures about how is that place being managed? Weeds everywhere. One of the statements tonight was, you guys take care of the medians. If that's the case, I haven't seen it. I take care of the one in my house. I think most people do at this point because you all don't have time. We get it. We do it. But there's areas in front of vacant lots that haven't been touched in months. And so my concern stepping in is, what is the city, who's accountable managing that? I see a lot of plantings going on when I see weeds this tall. And so I'm wondering what we're doing to beautify it and why we continue to go on to new projects when we cannot maintain what's already there. I'll leave it at that. I'd like to hand this to you and you all, and you guys can do with it as you will.
Okay, thank you very much for participating. Are there any people who would like to talk to us from the Cloisters? So we'd love to hear from you guys. Oh, it's why we're here. We're here to help the public. That's why we're here.
Hello, Judy Setting. I'm the person that Greg spoke of that sent him an email about this. And the main reason about the lawn, we love the lawn. Our dogs love the lawn. It was to help with the cost because we were being told that we might have a raise or something. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the whole cost thing. Greg did not mention, so I will mention, that we do have the option to outsource. If it's too much for the city, we can outsource. And we've done it before. In the beginning, it was outsourced. We may want to do it again because I did receive a quote for $60,000, and that provides weekly, 16 hours weekly, and it takes care of all the weeding and the mowing and the parkways, and they use all their own equipment, so it takes care of the supplies that we've been buying. And the city has also bought trimmers. I don't know where those trimmers are because legally you're supposed to keep them on the site if that's where they are, but that's okay. So I do want to say, though, that Cloister Park is a gem. I think we all know it. It's used by a diverse collective group of people. The Cloisters homeowners that I am a member of considers it a privilege to fund the landscaping and lighting maintenance. This contract is not in perpetuity. And we just want the weeds gone. In the 4 years that we've lived there, they're out of control. There's not regular maintenance on the weeds. And the gentleman before me was correct in saying that the majority of homeowners do their own parkway, but there are some people who aren't able to. And it really should be picked up for them. We're grateful for the workers. We're thankful, but we do feel like we are paying enough annually to have the weeds done. And I did take a picture today of, they're all over the place, but literally 4-foot tall, very green and lush dandelion plants. But they aren't supposed to be there, and they're everywhere. The trees, nice drawing, but the trees were meant to be on the lawn for the picnickers. People have to bring their own canopies. This isn't a park that's traditionally used for sport organizations. It's for fun. And with skin cancer on the rise, moms want a shady place to, have their snacks with the kids or their lunch. If you did reduce the turf, what would be ideal would be to put sand so that the dogs can run on it and it wouldn't hurt their paws. And yes, there would be an initial cost, but I don't understand the figures that are being given to me. I did a public request for a complete list of everything since the inception of this contract, and I was given the year 22-23, and that was it. So I personally am not interested in going over the past, but if we can get if we can outsource this for $60,000 a year, and right now you're telling me that the $78,000 a year that we're paying for manpower isn't sufficient, I think we should look at that and divide it up a bit so that maybe the city does the restrooms and that sort of thing like they do at other parks. And I just want to say that, Mr. Kwolek, you made me personally feel like this $150,000 a year is really nothing. That it's what we owe for being able to build there. Well, I want to say that when I was growing up, I used that area. Rabbit Trail is what it was called, to walk to the high school. We used it to get down to the sand dunes. Well, we're not allowed to go down on those sand dunes. It's all blocked for the snowy plover, which is fine, but the whole access to the beach in that whole area, the dog walking on the beach, we're not allowed to. We can't even take our trail down to the beach and go to the rock where you can have a dog, or walk to North Morro Bay. We have to get in our car and drive to the rock, or we have to get in our car and drive to the point to take our dog. So, and then the view shed, which I love that. I absolutely love it. You do not have a view from when you're down in the park. It's all for everybody across the freeway where I grew up on Ironwood. So I had that wonderful view. And I want everybody there to still have that view. But some low-bearing trees that are no taller than the restrooms or the other willows that are down there on the grass area would be really nice. I mean, in this day and age, I would love to see lemon trees, orange trees, something that the visitors could pick. But anyway, thank you, and I hope you'll work with us and things will get better out there right away. Thank you.
If I may make a quick comment, yes, that's why we're here, is to work with the community to make everybody as happy as we can possibly make them. So, this is not going to be a quick fix, I can see. There's so many different mitigating factors. So I think I need to study this a little bit further myself to see about it. But we appreciate your comments, and we wish more people would come down here and comment, because it is a city park, and it's part of the community. If you'd like to comment, please do. Thank you. But please try to keep it to 3 minutes. That's kind of the rule.
Definitely. Susan Weibel, original owner and the Cloisters, have had my house since 1999. So I've seen a lot of changes. I appreciate everything the Parks Department does for us. The questions about the weeds, I'm sitting here thinking, I think that maybe part of the reason that there's not enough time to keep up with the weeds in such a large area for the workers. And I don't see a reason why we couldn't volunteer Cloisters people to do a work party once a month and pull the damn weeds. I don't see any problem with that. I do maintain the parkway in front of my home. I do have an issue with the irrigation always running, which I've reported to the city many times. And the water runs down the street, and people come and complain to me that I'm wasting water, and it's actually city water. My address is 2747 Indigo Circle, if you want to check into that. I think that we're very lucky to have the Cloisters, to have the development, to have the park. I think the grass area is awesome. I don't think we need trees. I don't think we need things for dogs. We have a dog park over at Del Mar. I don't have a dog myself, so I'm not a dog person per se, but I do see people with dogs running loose in the park, which is against the rules and against the law. The park is mainly used, from my observation, by people outside of the Cloisters. There aren't a whole lot of children in the Cloisters development at this point. And most of the time what you see in the park is young children playing. And having dogs running loose is not a good thing. I know that before the Cloisters was built, my kids went to Morro Bay High School. My grandkids went to Morro Bay High School. That was called the Bunny Runs. And the cross-country team would run through there. And also a place where the kids got high, where people dumped their trash, their mattresses, their old box springs, everything. So the Cloisters did do a lot to change what the environment was, the coastal environment, but it did a lot to improve it, a lot. And I just think that we should get kudos for that. And you guys deserve a lot of credit for what you do. And perhaps maybe that's a meetup that I can set up where we can have people from the Cloisters go out and pull a few weeds here and there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure there's some options. I mean, even as far as perhaps even hiring the CCC to come out there and work. We'll have to see. Like I said, I think this warrants much more investigation. Thank you. Is there any more public comment before I close public comment? You sure?
Chair, and you might want to ask KGP if there's public comment online.
Excuse me? Oh, yes. Are there any public comment online? I forgot.
Thank you, Chair. There are currently no raised hands in the queue.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I do have some questions while you're here, if I may. On the Coleman Park, I thought we got a grant, a pre-COVID grant for about $175,000 for that park.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, we
The
can't.
staff is seeking input on the
On the
presentation
Cloisters,
that we
just-
gave, and I think some folks came out here, and I hear you that you believe there needs to be study on this. That's what staff's here for, to help with. And, you know,
Okay.
we would like an opportunity to respond to some of the comments that were made.
Oh.
And we'd really be interested in the input, because we spent some time putting together these policy considerations, and we'd really want to hear what you all think.
Okay, sorry about that. Got off track. Anybody?
But we could come back to that,
Okay.
I would think.
Yeah, I personally don't really feel there should be trees out there because it does block the view. You know, people take their shade structures to the beach all the time. And again, I'm not sure what the height restrictions would be on trees. So I guess the trees you listed would not grow beyond the height restrictions. If that,
That would be the goal, yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, would you like to respond to some of this, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to, and I appreciate the opportunity, Chair, and just want to, again, thank the public for coming out and pointing a few things out to us. I think what we didn't talk about in our presentation is that beyond sort of how the cloisters budget works and how maintenance activities there are structured, we citywide, and particularly in the maintenance division, do not have enough staff to maintain the streets, sidewalks, trees, parks, storm drains, open space, parking lots, et cetera, in the city. And so I sympathize with the residents there who have concerns about some weeds. I've seen them myself. I take my son to the cloisters. It has a great playground, and again, we just really like that park. But I do just want to point out that this is kind of a citywide issue. Carlos and I, again, went to that magical 2006 budget book, and we took a look at how many full-time workers were in maintenance 18 years ago. And again, back then it was split between street maintenance was in Public Works and parks was in Rec and Parks Department, and that's changed. But there were a lot more workers. There were about 5 more employees cumulatively between park staff, and then specifically parks maintenance staff and street maintenance staff. And we have lost 5 employees from 18 years ago. We cannot maintain with 5 less people what we maintained 18 years ago. I would argue that the consolidation of the departments for maintenance allows us to be more efficient and nimble. You know, in the old days, and by old days, I mean 20 years ago, so forgive me, but in the old days, you know, I might have one specific role, and if I'm done with that role that day, I don't have anything else to do. In our department, that doesn't fly. If you are generally working in the parks, but you're done with your tasks, we have something else to give you. You're going to help out with street maintenance, or you're going to help out with something else. That's how Mr. Mendoza runs his department. That's how we run our Department of Public Works, because there's just too much work. We can't do it all. And so I think there was an achievement in the consolidation for maintenance in that it allowed for those sorts of efficiencies. However, somewhere along the lines, a bunch of positions dropped. And that means in every park you go to, there are maintenance concerns. You know, we receive them all the time, and we do the best we can to respond to those. If there's sort of an issue where, you know, we have an employee who's being negligent, obviously that's something we'd want to look at. But I genuinely believe that that's not the case. If we need to spend a little bit more time in cloisters pulling weeds, I think we can do that. And so Mr. Mendoza is, you know, he also manages projects where he has, out of his 9 workers, you know, 5 or 6 of them at a time doing tree trimming or other work. And that means that they can't be anywhere else in the city. They can't be in 2 places at once. The one resident mentioned a volunteer group that pulls weeds. I mean, we essentially have that in other areas of the city. Morro Bay and Bloom, and at one time Morro Bay Beautiful, does exactly that kind of work. We have volunteers who pick up trash along the Embarcadero because our staff can't do it alone, and we so greatly appreciate that effort and that spirit of volunteerism in the community, because it does help keep the community beautiful. And so if there's a meetup or if there's something that city staff can help organize, we would be absolutely happy to do that. And you know, if anyone from the Cloisters Development would like to sit down with myself and Mr. Mendoza, we could sit down and look at the budget. We can sit down and talk about our practices to an extent. You know, at some point we need to get to our work, but we are open and happy to do that. Thus far, I have not received that request to meet with anyone. So I do just want to put that out there. But in terms, just kind of bringing it back to the commission, if you have any other comments on reducing the lawn size or planting the trees, we'd be happy to hear them.
Go ahead.
I would love to respond to that, and I would like to say I appreciate having the policy considerations coming to the Parks and Rec, because I think policy does belong with us rather than with PWAB, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the fact that you've been able to whittle down the costs. In spite of costs going up for water and electricity and purchasing of a tool, you've able to keep the cost down, so that's great. I did notice, and I think this is not the time to talk about the budget, but that's maybe something that we could look at for next year in terms of that kind of thing. And I love the idea of doing the volunteer group like they do at the Bluffs down at Coleman and other, not Coleman, but Colmer's Bluff with the new name, which I use the old name. So, yeah, and if we as a Parks Commission can help facilitate, be part of that, I want to let the public know that that would be great. Maybe we could form a little subcommittee of some kind and address this issue in a orderly way that would be helpful. Beyond that, my two comments are, one, we need to talk about the trees and the removal of the grass. In going out to the cloisters, which I don't do very often because I have other parks near me, I live in South Morro Bay, but when I do go there, it's the grassy area is constantly used. And it is free flowing, you know, it's just running, running, running. And so to lessen the grassy area for only a savings of $6,200, I would prefer to keep the grass. So there's more play area. So different groups can be in different areas on the play area. Regarding the trees, initially, I would not be in favor of that because I, again, like that openness. But the idea that maybe we need to start providing some shade, maybe on the border, and maybe some of the places that you spoke to, that might be a possibility, and again, could be part of maybe what a subcommittee could look at, looking forward to next year. That type of thing. So that would be my comment on those two items. To not say yes immediately to trees, but let's look at how that might happen. But I do want to say no to getting rid of the grass, because I love that. And at some point, either now or maybe after you all leave and talking to Mr. Carmichael, that I would like to see this commission make a proposal on what to do with the $180,000 that you're waiting for a project for, and make some suggestions about that. And then there was, what else? There was a second thing that I would like to bring up through the commission and refer back to council. Oh, and I did want to mention, because I think Ms. Setting brought this up, that part of the reason that there's no access through the dunes to get to the beach is because of state parks. They set it up that way because of the plover, and so we don't have control over that in a sense, because they had their input with coastal about that. And so that's been a complaint of lots of people, but it's out of the city's hands. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, could I ask about the access to the beach? Where you drive in and park, that immediate street, is that, Kesia, is that access? Can you walk down then from the parking to the beach? It's on the north end.
I think she's
Cloisters.
referring to state parks access on the north side of the, and then also running the south side of Cloisters. There's a park without, a place without cars where you can walk into.
So on either end.
Either end.
You have access to the beach.
But you do have to walk to the ends.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Yes, and what Ms. Winholtz alluded to is just in my brief research for this staff report was that part of the Cloisters development and the mitigation was that the developer had to grant that land that we don't have access to because of the fence to the state. And so that, as Ms. Winholtz, as Commissioner Winholtz stated, is not under the purview of the city. We don't have any control over that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the two proposals, Judy?
Well, as far as the proposals, my, my view of that grass area is that it's lovely. And I actually would hate to see that diminished. You know, there's a lot of expense in developing a grass area. I know the maintenance is costly. But I think the rewards are too great to then get rid of it. The trees, I'm still not, I think the view shed for everyone is important to consider. I think that we need to think a little more on that. But as far as the funding, wow, I mean, we're all up against it. We look at what our taxes for the state every year, and I look at what you people are doing, trying to continue maintaining on that same budget from 1996. We couldn't do it. Our own personal we've had to advance. So that's a Herculean task, I think, to stay in that budget. And you're doing it with so many less bodies, less time to do that. The resident who suggested volunteerism and pulling the weeds, when I walked through last night, I wanted to start pulling weeds. Because I'm doing it at home, and it's a constant chore in this area. We're blessed with sun and actually some water, and so things do grow. And compliments to maintenance, I think you do a great job. Not that there isn't a lot more to do. I see it at my own house, the same things, exactly. And it does take a lot, and I think the community coming together is a grand idea, too. It's beneficial for all of us to get out and pull weeds and community. It's a great effort. But thank you all for your input.
Chair?
We'll be thinking more on this.
Chair, I think I'm hearing a consensus that the commission does not wish to see the turf size reduced. However, there might be interest down the road in looking at tree plantings. I was remiss in addressing a couple of comments from the commenters of the public, and if I may have another minute to just
Yes, sir.
address that. So the one comment I just wanted to point out about perhaps we're irrigating too much in the parkways. That's something we'll look into. Someone mentioned they've contacted the city several times, so that's something that we will look into. The other question about, privatizing or outsourcing the maintenance, that was done 12 or 13 years ago or so, and I actually found a contract from fiscal year 2011 to 2012, and at that time, the city spent $80,000 for the year to pay for maintenance of the cloisters, and so that was 12 years ago or so. And with that contract amount, again, I was not here, but my understanding is that that contract was a failure, and the city was receiving a lot of complaints from the cloisters residents about the maintenance under that contract. And so at the maintenance superintendent at the time decided to bring that back to city staff. So I did want to just call that out.
Okay, it's very interesting. I almost want to ask, how many parks do we actually have? If you count the parks, there's something like 16 parks?
It's probably around there, yeah.
Yeah.
They're outlined in the general plan. I don't have it with me. We could.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
13.
13
13.
total? Okay.
Does that include Anchor Park and all those little ones?
Okay, because, yeah, Harbor's in charge of some of them, obviously, I guess. Aren't they in charge of some of those?
It depends what we mean by in charge of. Harbor doesn't have maintenance workers.
Oh, okay, they don't have any maintenance workers.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Public Works.
It's all Public Works. Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, do you need anything else from us? I mean, at this point, I think we need to take another look at it, and then we'll get back to you with some better recommendations. The 6,000 you'd save on water, what percentage of the budget is that? Well, I guess that's like almost half, looking at these numbers.
Percentage of the water budget or of the lawn budget? So
Well, if we cut the lawn back, you'll save about half of your water budget.
we'd
Is that what you're
say
looking at?
if we,
No.
well, I mean, our formula was pretty simple. Our thinking was if we cut the water turf by 40%, we'd save 40% of what we spend on the turf. Since we spend around $15,000 a year just on the turf,
15 grand.
that's $6,000.
Okay, now I see it. Thank you.
And to answer your question, yeah, I appreciate your input. And so if there's maybe you could work with myself or Mr. Carmichael on when you'd want to see that tree discussion come back to the group. And I would just put out there to members of the public that please reach out to me directly, and would be happy to sit down and go over the budget or anything else about the cloisters.
Okay. Thank you. I did have some other questions on other parks. Is this an appropriate time, or? I don't want to take up your whole night.
I mean, it's fine with us. I don't know that it's been agendized. If it's just kind of question and answer, we can do that. But
Yeah, I mean, I just in a rough overview about just the Coleman, what's up?
Maybe a status report.
Yeah, if we get a status report at the next meeting, perhaps, on that. Because there doesn't seem to be much movement going on that I know of. I could be wrong. Because there was some state park grant money, so I thought we had some money to go forward, but I don't think it's enough even to build the restroom.
So, yeah, I can talk about that briefly. No update currently. We've just had some staffing changes in engineering, and so that's sitting in engineering, and there is some history there. We have 2 grants and Parks and Lieu fees totaling somewhere around $900,000, which is definitely enough to build a restroom.
Okay.
Except the grant scope requires us to do a lot more than that. And so we are hoping to receive a Coastal Conservancy grant that's, if I recall, we submitted a kind of pre-application for.
Okay.
And I think we have some items due to the Coastal Conservancy to pursue the full grant. And so we did extend some grant timelines for one of the grants, so currently we're not in danger of losing that money. But staff feels that to actually do the work of the park as a capital project, we do need more funding.
Okay. So we would do it in phases? We'd want to it'd probably be more economical to do the whole park at once?
Our goal is to not do it in phases, and the way that, municipal capital projects work, if we build the restroom, we have to build the ADA parking. If we build the ADA parking, we have to build a pathway to get there. And so it's
Okay.
just, it's not as simple as let's just get the restroom in, because I know, I'm sure the commission is receiving complaints about that restroom being gone. We do have a porta potty there, which I know that doesn't really give anyone comfort, but we do have a porta potty there. Do we have that there right now, or just, okay, yeah, at least during the summer we do, right? And, we do have some restrooms somewhat nearby. But when we start spending the grant money, we have to do everything that the grant is requiring us to do, and there are things beyond the restroom that we're required to do.
Okay, understood. I've also had some inquiries about the snack bar at Lila Kaiser, if that's on your agenda. And I know you've got a lot on your plate, so we're not, expecting miracles or demanding action right now, as long as it's on your radar somewhere or on your list.
And I'll just comment on that one briefly. I think we mentioned that the last meeting we came to, and kind of gave our introduction. But that, to me, would be a policy consideration that would be perhaps started through the rec department, or, excuse me, the rec division. Our understanding for years has been there's no need to maintain that because it wouldn't be used. And so if there's plans, if the city has plans to kind of revitalize that and invite leagues and things like that to come to Lila Kaiser, then, you know, again, I think that's a policy consideration if we want to spend money to do that. And one of the things we would need to do is to revitalize that concession stand. Another thing is to rehab the fields, because the fields are not, at Lila Kaiser, are not in stellar condition. And so, again, great idea. We don't, yeah, we can do it. The question is that the direction the city wants to go in? And I think it'd be very appropriate for this board to hear that.
Okay. Is the Frank Riley Park on your, we're going to do some path work there? The one on the bluff above Tidelands?
I can probably take that. So yes, it's on our radar. We have some grant money that was awarded to us, and I think about $20,000 to do some improvements to the trail system there, to install some benches, to put some information panels, and a rock monument in the middle. We're working with the California Conservation Corps on a timeline to get that work done. They have offered for the city to pay for 1 week of work, and they will provide the city with a free week of coastal or California Conservation Corps work. So that was very nice of them. We are looking at doing that work at the beginning of November.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great outfit. I was in the CCC myself. Okay, do you have any other park updates you want to share with us or anything? No? Well, we sure appreciate your time, gentlemen. We really do, and your efforts and your work. Oh, and the one lady was asking, the park equipment goes back to like the shop so they can maintain it. They don't keep any park equipment at a specific park. It all goes back to their workshop so they can keep it in good shape. Okay? Thank you.
So we pay for almost no equipment out of the Cloisters fund. That's mostly out of the general fund.
Right.
So-
have a warehouse.
And so we,
Maintain it and make sure it's functioning, yeah.
in general, we have a centralized location for the equipment, yes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay. What, unless you have any other commissioners have any other things? And I think we're good for now.
With that item.
What?
With that item.
With that item, correct. So, that's it for C1. Thank you, gentlemen. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. You're welcome. So
Thank you, Mr. Kwolek. Mr. Mendoza?
yes. So well, we got this,
I don't know. No,
all right, Mr. Carmack, I believe we're at staff reports. C7?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm, let's see.
Well, actually, it would be,
The agenda item numbered C-3
yes, C-3.
is where we are. And I'll take that from here. I've got, I'll be reporting on behalf of Angelica Jepson, our recreation supervisor, who's on vacation this 2 weeks. And then I'll also be reporting on behalf of Recreation Supervisor, Mr. Zink, who's still preparing for our Rock to Pier run taking place on Saturday, so he needed the night off to get a little rest. Item C3 is program evaluation for our Mermaid, Sea Creature, and Pirate Parade that took place this year, May 18th. That was the originally scheduled date for this event. I think it's the third Saturday of the month of May every year. We did change the date last year due to a conflict with Ironman, but this year we brought it back because Ironman to the original Saturday, because the Ironman race was then switched over and scheduled for a Sunday. So this was an interesting one. We had it was a good turnout. We had approximately 150 kids and parents. A wonderful event. We paraded down the harbor walk, ended up at Tognazini's Dockside 2, who are so gracious to host this event and have for, I want to say, maybe 11 or 12 years now. And they provide a free lunch for the participants and their families. So we're happy to partner with Mr. Tognazini. This event, as I was explaining, was a little different this year due to the activity down there in the harbor area, the activity from Ironman. So that was a packet pickup day, check-in day, ride around, run around in that area. So it was a little confusing, but we still paraded on. So it was a wonderful event. We look forward to doing it again next year. We will not have conflict with Ironman, as the city will not be participating in Ironman this next year. They pulled out. So basically, that's all I had to discuss. If there's questions about the event, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? No?
What happened with Ironman?
They decided to cancel their the 3-year contract. It was, we are one city of quite a few, from what I understand, that they got a new CEO, and they made some decisions company-wide to cancel some of the events, and we were one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I make a motion that we receive and file C3.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Item C4. That is the program evaluation by Katie Tucker, our recreation specialist in aquatics. And before I launch into reporting on that, I would like to mention that Ms. Tucker's been with the city about 6.5 years now as our aquatics person, managing the city's activities at the Morro Bay High School Aquatics Center. Does a fantastic job. She's highly certified. She's able to train folks to be a lifeguard. So she's got a wealth of information and has been in this business for well over 20 years, probably 25 years. And I was fortunate enough we were, to convert her to a full-time position. It's been a long time coming for that position. We want to do what we can to keep people like her employed here with the city. This is a nationwide shortage of lifeguards and aquatics folks, so we felt it was in our best interest to convert her to full-time, to keep her here, along with doing aquatics coordination. She also does other office work for us to fulfill her 40-hour a week, the hours there. So happy to have her on board as a full-time staff person. With that, she put together this report, which discusses the aquatics programs from January through the middle of June. We're taking a look at aquatics basically in seasons. So this is, we isolate, the first of the year through right before summer starts. Then the next period is going to be June 15th through probably mid-August, which will we'll look at the summer operations, and then following that would be like August 16th through December 31st. So that's how our aquatics programs will be reported on the evaluations. So for this reporting period, The programming included the standard open lap swim, aqua aerobics class, master's swim class, private and semi-private lessons, and we also have a junior lifeguard boot camp that takes place at the pool to prepare the kids for our summer junior lifeguard program. You saw the numbers. We've got the financial information here for your review. Total cost recovery was at 98%. It's higher than what our targeted cost recovery of 70 to 79% is. Cost allocation is a funny thing. It depends on what you really look at to determine what your costs are. So our cost recovery is from a study done quite some time ago where we did not take into consideration full-time staff costs, nor facility costs, costs of the community center, of our office, supplies, things like that. So this is just really direct costs that include the supplies needed, any contractual services, rental of the swimming pool, and then our staffing of part-timers. And with that, I'm happy to take questions that you might have.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
It's a kind of a general question, but it's about cost recovery. And like this one was particularly high for the reasons that you just stated, because it didn't take everything into consideration. But all of your programs were within your cost recovery goal, like 70 to 79% or higher. If that's true and you're recovering within what you want, does that mean you don't raise fees next year? Or do you automatically raise fees anyways because of the CPI? Or just how does that work?
Yeah, and there's also a couple of reasons why our cost recovery was so high, and that's due to contracts with the school district and providing services on their behalf. So that does bring in additional revenue for us. That's typically not anticipated. To answer your question specific, we take a look at all of our programs and want to make sure that we are in line basically with what other agencies will charge in the surrounding area. So for example, like our soccer program, we'll take a look at South Bay Soccer. What do they charge as far as registrations and such? So those items come into the factor as to whether or not we will raise prices. Oftentimes our programs we don't raise prices. The swimming pool hasn't seen an increase for quite some time because we don't want to raise by, the price of a lap swim by 50 cents or something like that. It becomes a little more challenging then for us to have to provide that kind of a change and such at the pool. So we look again, like at Cuesta College, for example, see, what is it that they're charging for lap swim? What is Sinsheimer and San Luis Obispo charge to really help us gauge costs for the swimming pool specific.
Yeah, I get that, but for me, just because if it was coming out of my pocket, I'd rather just what are the costs we encourage or have, and then see how that works. Like, I don't care what Sinsheimer costs or Cuesta. I would rather just know what does it cost us and then divvy that up amongst the users.
I see.
Yeah, but that's just me.
Thank you.
I believe so. So receive and file?
Well, I make a motion that we receive and file C4.
Have a second? Do I have a second?
Oh, second? I thought you were second.
All approved, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none, thank you. Okay, girls softball? Coach
Sorry,
girls
stuck with me again.
softball. Yeah,
This is the report from Recreation Supervisor Ken Zink, and this is an evaluation of our Coast Girls Softball program for this year. This year we did see an increase in the numbers of participants. We totaled at 79 players with a couple of teams of under 6, 1 under 8, and 2 under 10, and 2 under 12 teams. We also this year formed a nonprofit girls softball board, pardon me, to help us with all-star tournament and all-star teams. So we did have 2 all-star teams this year, one under 10 and one under 12, so they could continue to compete in other competitive tournaments. Now, recreational leagues are typically not, well, competition is not their top goal. It's participation and skill development and things of that nature. So that's why we do this board who can go ahead and do fundraising and whatnot to raise the money for their uniforms and for tournament fees. So that is not coming out of the registration fees that are paid for by the regular or everybody else that's participating in the program. So we do serve young ladies out of Morro Bay, Los Osos, Cayucas, and Cambria. And it was a successful season, I would say, with minimal issues, and there's always issues, but minimal this year. So, and we did see our cost recovery come in at 70% roughly, which is right on target with what we're looking to do. So, happy to answer questions with this report.
No questions.
Is it,
I believe we won. One of our teams did. I think it was our under 10. Yeah. Yep.
All right, may I get a motion to receive and file, please?
I make a motion that we receive and file.
second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? It's filed. Okay, adult softball. C6, please.
Me again. This is on behalf of Recreation Supervisor Ken Zink, co-ed adult softball spring season. Softball is an interesting thing. It used to be so robust here in this town, and it's just it's slowly just kind of been shrinking. Last year we had, or excuse me, last season I believe we had 4 teams. This year we've got 5 teams in total who are playing the co-ed softball. They like it. Folks who want to come up and play softball have a place to play here in town. But we are trying to do what we can to grow this back to what it used to be for a number of reasons. You know, we want to offer the opportunity here for our community, but also get this park being, you know, used again like it used to be. And then with a higher use then comes, you know, a purpose to like renovate that snack bar as an example. So it's tough for an organization to come out to do a snack bar when there's, you know, 2 games on a weekend. So that's one of our challenges with specific to that snack bar. But back to this report, we fell a little bit outside of our cost recovery at 85%. Which is higher than our cost recovery should have been, but nevertheless, we're talking $1,000 or so. But anyways, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Maybe we need a return of hot dogs and burrito boats in the concession stand to spark interest in the community to
It might be that.
come
It's
out.
the chicken before the egg kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, but, yeah, have maybe some volunteers help fix it up. I just didn't want to see it get condemned or be a
Yeah.
public nuisance or something, 'cause that's not a good look.
No, but it's okay. I mean, it's physically okay. It just needs a real deep cleaning.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad. All right. Make a motion to accept and file?
I make a motion that we accept and file.
Second?
All in favor, aye. All opposed?
Aye.
None. It passes, thank you. Co-ed adult soccer, C7.
Okay. Again, on behalf of Ken Zink, Recreation Supervisor, this is our 2024 co-ed adult soccer season. This program, along with our adult kickball program, is the result of the survey that we had done earlier this year, asking for input. We did receive from our community 83 responses. 32 out of those stated that they wanted soccer offered. So we went forward with the program. It started out a little rough. We couldn't really generate enough interest to get a number of teams. I think we had 16 people that registered at the start. But as the word got out, others joined in. So it was really kind of fun to see the community really work together to make a program happen. So it wasn't about, you know, I've got my team and you've got yours, and let's just play. This is what they said to do. But no, we broke down the teams into smaller groups, and we're able to get a few smaller teams formed. Again, more people started to come on out to play, so it slowly grew a little bit. So it was a good start. We'll try to do that again, most likely this fall, or maybe in the spring. Mr. Zink will be on paternity leave soon, so that's a program that I'm not ready to take on and develop further. So we'll let, we just might wait until he comes back, unless some of his staff is able to handle that. But again, it was fun. It was a good start to get out there and give it a try. A lot of happy people. I saw out there, you know, running around, getting some exercise and having fun. So cost recovery on that was at 90%, and we exceeded our target recovery there. Again, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Nope, sounds great. Okay, so that was C7.
Okay, I'll receive and file. Motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None? Okay. I'd like to make a couple quick comments since we're here. In order for us as a commission and, oh, yeah, it's on, sorry. In order for the commissioners and the staff to all get together and go somewhere, we have to have a meeting, right? According to your Roberts rules, it has to be an official act for
Yeah,
more than two commissioners to be
correct.
together. So are we allowed to have extra meetings if we want to go on a field trip over to Cloisters and
We can.
have a good look at it?
Sure, we
Because
can.
I'd like to consider us to be, I get out as much as I can. But I think if we're all on the ground and walked it, we might be able to come to some different, better conclusions. I'm not against trees. I love trees. But is that the appropriate thing to do?
Yeah.
And that park, dogs are allowed on leashes there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Cloisters you're referring to?
Cloisters, yes. Okay. Yeah, because we used to, a long time ago, all the local parks departments would get together and we'd have a big lunch and we'd talk about all the issues that we're facing and the commonalities. Because if we do have 13 parks, you know, how do you break that out? How is one park worth more than the other? Is the Cloisters subsidizing it to an acceptable degree with their financing? Or is this an unacceptable drain on the city's resources? Because I understand we have only so much resources and we have to, that's part of what we do. We're the guardians of the resources. But we want everyone to have a fair share and to reach the, you know, from the after-school kids to the seniors, for everybody to have the opportunities that they deserve and want. Because that's what a community is, bring us all together. So I would suggest that we consider that. We get together for a field trip on occasion. I would like that myself. A future agenda item, whether we talk about that, whether that's possible. Because I know we used to go with other departments, but I don't know if they're still interested in going with us. You know, it'd be nice to go with some of the facilities people because they're directly involved.
Other departments, meaning within our city or outside
Yeah,
of the city?
within our city.
Maintenance.
Yeah, just maintenance, facilities.
And you.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Mr. Qualic about our joint meetings that we used to have, and joint with the Public Works Advisory Board. And he entertained possibly this fall, we could do something like that, if we want to get together with both boards.
Okay. 'Cause-
If we just want to do a special meeting, then that's different, and we can treat it that way, but then invite them. But I hesitate to jump 2 feet into that because, again, my office and my responsibility is not parks. It's not park maintenance, and it's not park development. This is a funky arrangement that's been neglected by city administration for 10 years now. That
Yeah.
needs to be addressed, and it hasn't, and there isn't much discussion about addressing it. So I'm happy to have the conversation with the city manager and with the public works director as to how to move forward with that. I don't want to put myself out there and say, yes, we would do this right now because of the funky nature of this arrangement. If that makes any sense.
Okay. 'Cause I mean, I hate to think that we have too many parks and we can't maintain them all, and that we'd have to give up something.
I agree.
Because I understand, the problem obviously is the increase in wages, the increases in insurance, the matching the retirement monies and all those things is why we're 5 staff. The facilities is 5 staff less than they were.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that must be a huge burden on them.
Yeah, and I did want to point something out, and I should have while the gentlemen were here. But I know 10-plus years ago, the city had a robust Adopt a Park program where we had
Correct.
about 13 agreements in place, and an organization or a group of folks maintained or helped to maintain the parks.
That's a good
Yes,
idea.
we need to look into bringing that back.
I'm
'cause I
not
remember
quite sure
doing
where that is and why it hasn't been brought back, because it's a powerful tool to help maintain our park system.
Right.
Similar to
And it's-
as our guest speaker had mentioned, that she was willing to get out and pull weeds. That's an Adopt a Park program.
Yes, we need to look back into that, because a lot of the businesses were helping. And yeah, because, yeah, I'd hate to have to close a park.
That's a good
That'd break my heart.
community involvement. That just brings people together.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have to deal in the reality of what it costs to run a city. And like they say, there's so many moving parts to a city. And we're just one little small part, but we try to provide that little bit of pleasure to the community
I
by
would like
having
to add my
places for them
yard
to
to
go.
the
Yeah,
park
okay.
setting.
All right, at this point, I think we need to elect a new chair, 'cause I'm only a vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in
Oh,
and say
yes,
we
sir.
do, I do need to speak on item C9, and then if we can go ahead and do.
Oh.
Yes,
We'll
please.
do the other.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I don't have a C9.
Yeah.
So item C9 is an update on the Morro Bay Celebration of Incorporation
Oh,
event.
correct, yes.
And we did discuss this at our last meeting, I believe it was, and, excuse me, so I just have a couple of quick verbal updates, and we, did make the decision, and still are moving forward with the dates of September 5th through 7th, 3 days of celebration. Again, the Thursday is we're going to piggyback onto the Tunes at Tidelands program, which is a combined effort between the city and Morro Bay Senior Center Incorporated. We're going to do an enhanced program, like I said, which would maybe be some other decorations out there, maybe some special shirts, whatnot. And that's Thursday. Friday, we're looking at an art show / garden show, and I'm working with the Art Center of Morro Bay. They are looking at hosting an event there on that Friday night for us, and we're bringing in, gosh, what did she call it? Hang on a second, I'm confused with my own notes. I can't read my own writing.
Was that the food, the different restaurants bringing in?
Yeah, so we're working on is an art show first, and that's with the Arts Center, and what we're looking